London burned to the ground 3 times, and each time it came back stronger. But why? In the next few minutes, you'll discover the secret that turned London's disasters into its greatest weapon. A secret every major city uses today. But first, we need to go back to the night when everything changed. September 2nd, 1666. Ein Uhr nachts. A bakery on Pudding Lane in the heart of the city. Thomas Fariner, the king's baker, forgot to put out his oven before going to bed. It seemed like a small mistake, the kind of thing that happens every day. But this wasn't every day. In 4 days, London would be nothing but ash and rubble. But this wasn't the city's first death. Not even close. Let me take you back. Rewind 600 years. 1212, the first Great Fire of London. A fire so devastating that people still spoke about it in whispers centuries later. Nobody counted the dead back then. Record-keeping was primitive. Bodies were piled in mass graves. But historians mention one number that survived. 3,000 people. Dead in one single night. And you know what they did after that catastrophe? They rebuilt the city from wood. Again, the same material that had just burned. Why? Because wood was cheap. Stone was expensive, and London was poor, desperately poor. So they made the same mistake twice, and they were about to make it a third time. Back to 1666. That September night, flames jumped from Thomas Fariner's bakery to the next house. The house next to that, then another, and another. Wooden houses packed so tight you could literally shake your neighbor's hand from your window without stepping outside. The streets were narrow, some only 3 feet wide. Fire didn't just spread. It exploded through the city like a bomb. And here's the crazy part. The Lord Mayor of London, Thomas Bloodworth, gets woken up in the middle of the night. His advisors tell him the city is burning. He needs to act now. He looks at the flames in the distance and says, and I quote, "Pish. A woman might piss it out." He goes back to bed. He literally went back to sleep while London burned. By the time he woke up the next morning, a quarter of the city was already gone. King Charles II had to step in personally. He gives the order that would change firefighting forever: blow up the houses, create fire breaks, stop fire with emptiness, use gunpowder to demolish entire blocks before the flames reach them. But it was too late. The fire had too much momentum, too much fuel. The wind was too strong. For days, that's how long it burned. 13,000 homes destroyed, 87 churches reduced to rubble. St. Paul's Cathedral, one of the grandest buildings in Europe, collapsed. The lead from its roof melted and ran through the streets like a river. Fire temperature reached 1,200 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to melt stone. People described stones exploding like grenades from the heat. The sky turned black. You couldn't see the sun for days. People jumped into the Thames River trying to escape. Families were separated in the chaos. Children lost their parents in the smoke. Some people choked to death before the fire even reached them. 80,000 people lived in London. Most of them lost everything. But here's what's strange. What doesn't make sense? Officially, only 6 people died in the Great Fire of London. 6. Think about that. A fire that destroyed most of a major city. That burned for 4 days straight. That created temperatures hot enough to melt stone. And only 6 recorded deaths? How is that even possible? The answer is more terrifying than you think. Bodies burned completely. At 1,200 degrees, human remains turned to ash in minutes. Nothing left to identify. Nothing left to count. Working-class people, servants, the homeless. They vanished. Simply erased from history. The real death toll? Historians now estimate it could be in the thousands. But those deaths weren't recorded. Because those people didn't matter. Not to the officials. Not to the record keepers. History loves clean numbers. 6 sounds official. Manageable. Thousands sounds like chaos. So they went with 6. After the fire, King Charles II issued a decree. No more wooden buildings inside the city. Only stone. Only brick. Streets had to be wider. Buildings lower. Fire regulations became the strictest in the world. This is where Christopher Wren enters the story. One of the greatest architects in British history. The fire gave him a blank canvas. He proposed a radical plan. Demolish what remained and rebuild London from scratch. Wide boulevards. Symmetry. Gardens. A Renaissance masterpiece. The king loved it. The architects loved it. They rejected it anyway. Why? Property rights, greed, human nature. Landowners refused to give up their plots. Even after losing everything, they rebuilt London almost exactly as before. The same medieval streets, the same chaotic layout, just stone instead of wood. But here's the twist. The Great Fire of 1666 saved London. The year before, 1665, the Great Plague killed 100,000 people, 1/4 of the population. Rats, fleas, mass graves. The city was dying from the inside. Landowners refused to give up their plots. Even after losing everything, they rebuilt London almost exactly as before. The same medieval streets, the same chaotic layout, just stone instead of wood. But here's the twist. The Great Fire of 1666 saved London. The year before, 1665, the Great Plague killed 100,000 people, 1/4 of the population. Rats, fleas, mass graves. The city was dying from the inside. Then came the fire. It burned everything. The rats, the bedding, the disease. Entire neighborhoods were sterilized by heat. After the fire, the plague vanished forever. It never returned. London rose cleaner, healthier. The disaster became an accidental vaccine. Brutal, deadly, effective. Another fire followed. 1834, the Palace of Westminster burned down. The cause was absurd, burning old wooden tally sticks. Too many. The fire spread. Parliament was destroyed. They rebuilt it into the Gothic masterpiece we know today. Big Ben, an icon born from fire. Do you see the pattern? After 1666, something new appeared: fire insurance. Pay money. Get a metal plaque. Fire brigades only saved houses with plaques. No plaque. You burned. Fire created inequality. The rich survived. The poor didn't. Cities that remember disaster prepare. London learned. Today it is one of the most fire-safe cities in the world. Every regulation was born from catastrophe. The bakery on Pudding Lane is marked by a monument now. A golden column. You can climb it and see what rose from the ashes. London still burns. 18,000 fires a year. But it knows how to survive. Disaster isn't the end. It's the beginning.